Morning, everyone. We're going to get started in just a minute here. Just waiting for the last few people to trickle in. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Um, Today, we are talking about personalizing your AI. Before we get started, I'd like to just mention that we are transitioning and rebranding with a fresh new look. We are now going into Easy Tech Solutions from Easy Tech Support because we offer a lot more than just support. We are offering solutions from day-to-day activities and things that you're doing in workflows. So let's get started. ChatGPT and Claude is going to be the main subject of today, and the reason is because they have the most customization and personalization that you can do to really get preferences and your style down. ChatGPT knows nothing about you yet, so today we're going to go through and we're going to talk about how to build those out and how to get it to know you. We're going to configure settings from role, what you do, the tone that you like, the preferences. You're going to create durable baselines so that it knows, so you're not having to tell it every single time what you're working on, what you're doing, what those types of things. And we're going to get a little sneak peek about our some advanced personalization, but we're going to have a whole session about it because we don't have time to go through it today. Right now, repetition is your baseline, and this is a big pain point when I talk to people about asking, well, AI doesn't really know me, or I keep having to tell it the same thing over and over about what I'm working on or what I'm doing. Well, that's because it doesn't know you, right? And so we're going to talk about that, and we're going to give it tone and context and your role and things that you expect it to do. This will help kind of create a baseline for you. So when you're actually working, it knows how to refer to you. It immediately knows what you do, so it's not sitting there guessing and giving you the wrong answer. To solve that, we got to customize and personalize either Claude or ChatGPT your preference, right? And so with ChatGPT, we have a customization panel that has several questions. There's memory features that are also involved that we're going to talk about and go in depth on. In Claude, it's a little different. They have preferences, they have styles, and they have search. It looks at past search, and that's how it uses memory. There's no actual memory feature like ChatGPT. Um, Principle here is we're going to keep things evergreen, keep things simple to the point, and not conflicting. One of the biggest things that I see is someone is telling the AI that they want it to be concise and short, but they also want it to be very detailed, and that is conflicting to the AI. And unfortunately, as smart as AI is, it is dumb. And so we have to be very clear about our objective, about our goal. Do not put conflicting statements and things like that. So we're going to go through that. We're going to start off with talking about ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, you have this customize my GPT section. The way you get to it is in your menu bar on the left-hand side. You're going to click on it and you'll see customize GPT. You click on that and this window pops up. This tells ChatGPT how to reply to you, how to work with you, what you're expecting, where you need help, and where you don't need help. So you start off by telling it what to call you. You tell it what you do. You give it traits, just like you would when you're interviewing an intern or an assistant or something like that. You have a job description. Well, what is ChatGPT's job description, and what is your role in that job description? And that's how you want to think about it when you're deploying these things. We're going to go through each of these sections and we're going to talk about it. And then at the end, I'm going to show you how to use AI to help you answer these questions and have a very clear objective and a very clear baseline. So what should ChatGPT call you? This standardizes it. It makes things easier and it's more simple to talk to you about when you're asking it questions and you're saying, instead of it calling you Mark Mina, it's going to call you Mark because it makes it more personal. It makes it feel more conversational. And that's the whole point of AI. This setting may seem small, but it creates a consistent identity across your chats and your projects and things that you're working on. So what do you do? I like this section a lot because it gives it context about who you are. So I use this setting to briefly summarize in about 2 to 3 sentences. What do you do? So for example, I said, I am the founder and CEO of Easy Tech Solutions, a managed solutions slash managed intelligence provider. And we're going to go through the rest of it. But I gave it a few things that I do. I focus on strategy. We provide these IT services and all of those things. And you should do the same thing for your role. I'm an attorney. I'm a legal assistant. I'm a paralegal for the managing attorney. I'm an executive assistant. I'm a marketer for a law firm. Those are really important things to tell it so it knows what it is that you're doing. Don't give it project specifics or task specific things. This is high level. If someone asks you, what do you do? What are you going to tell them? That's what this section needs. What personality should ChatGPT have? This is a new section that got released with ChatGPT 5, and this helps it with its tone and personality and responsive, the way it responds. So you can have it a default, a cynic, a robot, a listener, or a nerd. Default tends to be the best in my opinion, unless I need it to be efficient and blunt and to the point and just we're working on something very strategical and I don't need fluff, I will actually come in and change it to robotic so I can have that during that time period that I'm working on that task or project. This, again, setting covers the voice and the tone. It's not going to be precision. It's just tone and personality on how it communicates with you and things like that. The next section is what traits should ChatGPT have? These traits are the behavior, and this helps it get granular as to the assistant that you're looking for or that you're hiring, right? Be deliberate, pick 4 to 7 traits that are the most important to you and sequence them in order of importance. So for example, in mine, I wrote, I want you to be a thought partner, straight shooting, be forward thinking because we're in technology, be encouraging, have a balanced tone. And there's a couple more that I put in there, and those are quick bullet points that tell it how to behave and act and think and reason. Again, don't give it mixed messages. Don't tell it to be chatty and um, concise at the same time, or give me bullet points, but I need you to be detailed because it's not going to know the difference and it's going to get confused and give you bad responses. This section, anything else that ChatGPT should know about you, this is the most powerful section in the entire customization section. This is the one that you really want to spend time on and write sentences that are very descriptive of what you're expecting and how you want it to act. So for example, in mine, I wrote, always provide facts with actionable recommendations verified from fresh sources when possible and cite the sources. Because I want to avoid hallucinations, I always like to ask it to cite the sources because I need to go in and I need to be able to verify the information it's giving me, the human in the loop, which we'll talk about when we're in workflows and things like that. But always keeping me in the loop and giving me the ability to verify what it's giving me as a response. We tell it to, I tell it to do, I need deep dive reports and then we'll refine collaboratively. So I need detail and then I will slowly pare it down as I'm reviewing those details, right? Don't give it text samples, don't give it templates, don't give it documents. This is not the place for it here. And this is not a prompt. This is what you expect. In one of my, in the last section here, I told it I expect support with these tasks that that I have issues with. So for example, I say I expect support with writing reports, drafting emails, things like that, so that it knows what I need to do. The advanced section, this is a section that we're not going to touch on because you have to be really an advanced user to customize these sections based on preferences. I say check all of these and just leave it and don't come back to it. This allows it to function to use these settings when you're doing a web search, when you're writing code. There's a Canvas feature that we're going to talk about in another session and go in detail with, that allows you to collaborate in a writing tool when you're working with ChatGPT. And then the advanced voice is when you can use it to talk to and use your voice to get things done instead of constantly having to type things in a chat box. Now, all of this is great, except it means nothing if you don't enable it at the end of the day. So you want to make sure at the very bottom there, you enable it for new chats. So whenever you create a new chat, it's going to know to use these settings as your baseline when you're prompting it. And it will incorporate these preferences in your prompt when it's doing its reasoning or its task or whatever you ask it to do. Now, to build on top of that, ChatGPT gives you memory features that allow you to reference or tell the AI, remember that for later, and it will store it in its memory bank, and it will use it later. I've seen great use cases where you'll be working on a case that you're going to trial on, or you're working on a big project. You can use the referenced memories and have it remember certain things about that project during the time that you're working on that project. Now, in order for it not to get confused, you may want to go back and clean that up and do some housekeeping every time you're done with a project or you're done with a trial or things like that, because you don't want it to get confused. Reference chat history will reference all of your chat history that you've done in the past, or things that you still have that you haven't archived. Another form of a memory bank that allows you to reference when you're doing and give context when you're doing other tasks. For isolated work where you don't want it to reference your custom GPT instructions, your personalization instructions, you don't want it to reference your memory, you'll want to use something called the temporary chat. And that's a little dotted, I'll show it to you guys in the chat GPT window, where it literally looks like a temporary chat. And when you click on it, it doesn't use any of these settings. So this is a screenshot of what my memories looks like, because I clear it out after I do it once a month because I don't want it to keep memories, because I'm working on a ton of different things. But over time, things will accumulate here, and this can help. This can either confuse or help. When you're working through and you have things that are saved in here, you can say, remember that, or you can say, what do you remember? If you want to know what's in your bank and you don't want to navigate to this window. Over time, things can get redundant or conflicting. So again, keeping it clean and revisiting this to do some housekeeping is always important. Sanity check, right? Keep things in loop. So when you're done creating all of these things, do some neutral testing, give it some prompts, see if it recognizes your preferences, ask it to do simple things, nothing too intensive, so that you can see if the results are what you want. Go back and iterate, fix things. You know what? I didn't like it giving me, it was a little too much detail. So let's dial that back a little, and you go change those advanced settings, you go change those personalization settings so that it knows how to respond to you. Log these things and keep a library of these, because you never know, like when you're going to need it, or when your position evolves and now you need to incorporate new things, you can go and iterate on that and see what you've had. Or maybe you're like, I made this change, I don't like it, I need to go back. Well, it's not going to save versions, so you got to have something saved in a Word document or whatnot. Keep repeating, keep iterating, keep adjusting until you get the desired output from ChatGPT. Keep one thing in mind. It's not going to get it perfect, because there's still a lot of challenges that we are dealing with AI from a infrastructure, from a programmatic, and just a discovery standpoint. that we haven't actually been able to reach what they call AGI, or artificial general intelligence. So it's not going to be perfect, but this is going to be better than what you're doing now. I'm going to stop right here before we move on to Claude, and I'm going to see if there are any questions that have been posted in the Q&A or the chat. Is anyone, let me see here. Do we have any questions? No. Okay, so moving on to Claude. Claude is the competitor to ChatGPT. There are times that I actually like Claude. I prefer it over ChatGPT in different things that I'm doing, depending on the task or how detailed or what it is. Is it more programmatic, or is it creative work? ChatGPT tends to do better in creative, and overall it has more modalities and more connectors and things, which we'll talk about later. But Claude is really good at writing and analyzing data strategically. So Claude has a different way of personalization and customization. So it has preferences, it has styles, it has search. Each of these are your building blocks to how Claude responds, and it actually makes it a really cool and flexible way for you to switch between the two, or between the styles, or updating your preferences and things like that. What I did here, because I use both platforms depending on the project or the task that I'm working on, I took the same settings because I really liked that what I put together, and I felt like it outlined what I needed, and I put it into Claude in the freeform preferences section. You get to this by going to your settings, and it's the first tab called profile. Now, one thing I noticed about Claude is sometimes it doesn't sync your settings across the desktop app, the web app, and things like that. So sometimes you have to do the settings twice and put the information in two places. The profile does sync across, but other settings do not. So we're going to go into this and talk about each of these sections in detail. So for full name, this is, again, an identity piece for consistency and basic context. My full name is Mark Mina. What I want Claude to call me is Mark, right? This just creates identity, makes things easier to discuss. This is very similar to what ChatGPT call you. It is just a greeting style. Consistency matters, especially when you are trying to have it draft emails for you and letters and things like that. Don't put titles, don't put suffixes like ESQ, don't put any of those things. Just keep it clean. Name, first name, last name. Maybe a middle name if you want, but not necessary. And I would probably just say keep it simple. The simpler, the better. Now, Claude has this what best describes your work, and it has a few different sections. Those sections are legal, human resources, operations, other, education, things like that. So because they don't have a tech section, I put other, and that kind of over encompasses things. But there are sections that would help you. If this is not trying to find a perfect match, if you're someone who does both operations and human resources for your company, pick the one that you do 80 or 90% of the time. Operations encompasses human resources. Human resources does encompass portions of operations. They are separate departments as well. You can technically combine them for smaller firms, right? So make sure you're picking the one that best fits you, and don't overthink this. This just helps Claude interpret your unclear prompts based on industry or type of work. You can always come back and change this based on what you're working on, and it will apply to, again, new chats. It's not going to apply to an existing conversation you're having. This section here, which is the preferences, what personal preferences should Claude consider? This is where the most weight is carried for Claude, and it is the equivalent to ChatGPT's anything else section. Again, keep it detailed, not conflicting, and to the point. I copied what I liked in what I put together in ChatGPT because I actually used AI to help me draft it, and then I pasted it in here, and it has been helpful. Again, revisit this as your career changes, as your work changes, as your responsibilities, or as your needs change from what you need AI to do. Now let's switch to styles. So styles is actually embedded in every single new chat that you create. So one of the things you're able to do is pick the style that you want. Styles are like macros for formatting your output. So I'm learning, so I need to create an outline or things like that. I am writing a formal letter or a formal document. Claude allows you to create custom styles in here. So if you have a pleading style or you have a meet and confer type letter, you can actually, if you can articulate that style of writing and put it into the custom style section, you can now have a new style that you use. Claude gives you 4 pre-built styles that work pretty well. Now, the memory section for Claude is not something that you can toggle on and off like you normally would in ChatGPT. Claude's memory section is using past chats and it automatically does that. It's retrieval, it's not memory, is the way Claude or Anthropic likes to present it. This is a feature, not a limitation. So they are trying to make sure that they figured you're working on multiple things in the same thing in multiple chats doing different tasks, and then you're going to try to put it together. So what they were able to build based on their studies and research and requests is, hey, we're going to build a method where you can reference old chats and ask it, hey, what were the 2024 notes for our meeting that I wrote down in a past chat, and it's going to search through and it's going to try to find it. Your preferences and your style still do the heavy lifting. Past chats or memory, if you will, is for context. Context is really important for AI to understand what it is that you're doing. And we're going to be our prompting session next month will be going into how to develop context and how to deal with context limits, which every AI has. Now let's do a check. You've put all these settings, you select a style. Let's try to give it a neutral prompt and have it give us a response and see if that's what you're looking for. If something's off, try to correct it, but don't overcorrect, because sometimes it will go from close to perfect to this is a disaster, I hate it, what was I thinking? Retest, iterate, and continue to do it and build onto it. And just remember, this is not a setting that you set and forget. You're going to have to keep adjusting until you get a perfect response. And I don't want to use the word perfect, I'm using it loosely, but until you get a desired output. Okay. So here's a little teaser about our next one of our upcoming labs. It's not our next lab. And so we're going to be talking about projects. We're going to be talking about tools and connectors and other features that are enhance or dramatically increase your personalization. This allows it to have more context and get around certain limits. This allows it to search for things without you having to upload it into it, and it allows you to keep things in a bubble and in a project, if you will, where it's just a case project, and that's where everything lives. Helps you keep things more organized. So once you've put all your settings and you've locked this stuff in and you've gotten it to give you as close as a result to your desired results, you're going to start prompting and start working with it and formatting and seeing if it gives you consistent results. When you align your baselines with the way you want, when each user aligns their baselines, they're going to get much better results. And if you collaborate with your team about some of these settings, so you guys have a universal baseline together with different preferences, it's going to help a lot. And it will save you hours, not just in frustration, but hours in doing things and getting things done the right way. I always say there's the 80-20 rule, and 80% of the work can be done by AI, and the 20% is you taking it home and finishing it up, right? But you don't get close to that 80% unless you have these baselines and these customizations and your prompt all together. So when it comes to these settings, usually less is more, so long as you're precise. So avoid long-winded explanations and try to keep things short, because this does eat away at your context window. And we're going to be talking more about that in detail. Conflicting and overlapping preferences or requests or instructions will muddy behavior and give you undesired results. Keep things clean. Do not duplicate your settings. Don't repeat yourself in when you're setting these things up. Just keep it clean, cut, and to the point. So common mistakes that we see is even the greatest settings will fall apart because basics are missed. So we've seen some these are some of the 4 biggest things that we see. People forgetting to turn it on for new chats after they edit. The anything else section is not sharp and focused, and it is a messy essay. Double check that and test your changes. Sometimes we see it where people are not testing; they're just taking what they think is right. They throw it in there, and it gives them undesired results. Mistakes that we see with Claude, right? People use the wrong style or over-engineer their preferences. They give it too much preferences, and now it doesn't know which one to choose because it doesn't understand. A perfect example is try not to give it paragraphs. Again, give it 4 to 7 sentences, 8 at most. Don't overlap. Don't talk about styles in your preferences. Talk about how you want to see the results, what you're expecting it to support you in, and things that you are going to use it for. Keep the style for the style section in Claude. So I mentioned this a couple times. If you don't know how to fill these sections out, or you don't know how to really optimize it, ask AI to help you, right? So prompt it, say, I want to customize my ChatGPT and I want to fill in the sections. Can you help me customize it? And I'll show you what I wrote, and it will go through a interview process with you. You can tell it to keep things and avoid filler language and remove any fluff, and to use verbs to start each line. Things that are going to, the AI knows how to talk to itself best. So ask it for help. Ask it to refine what you're about to put in as those settings. Validate it and reiterate until you get your desired results. So every time ChatGPT or Claude or any of these major LLM providers send out an update, they completely change the game. ChatGPT released ChatGPT 5 a couple weeks ago. ChatGPT 5 removed all of the models that you can use. Well, that really changes the way you prompt, because now they're trying to guess which model they're going to use for the prompt you're giving it. Is it going to think hard, or is it going to give you a quick response? What is it that you're looking for? That change affects the way you change the way you have your personalization settings, and the way you're telling it to give you expected responses or projects that it's going to work on and things like that. So after every major update, you should test and don't trust that these configurations that we put together today are going to work 6 months from now when ChatGPT 6 is released, or when Claude 5 is released, or whatever it is that's in the works, or they release a new personalization setting, and now you have to go break up your personalization and redo this process. Again, this is not a set it and forget it. Keep up, and we will be posting about updates that come up with these models so that you can keep up and follow us and make those changes and iterate on what you've done. That also goes back to why I always say keep a log or keep a template of your final product or your versions, so that if you need to go back to it and iterate on it, it's there and you're not having to piece it together or go through that interview process again. So we talked about customizing ChatGPT, giving it your name, your role. We've talked about the advanced settings, some of the stuff that you don't really need to worry about, and we'll talk about more in depth later. We've touched on your how to get predictability and efficiency from a conversation once you've done these settings, right? For Claude, we've talked about the preferences and the styles, the advanced settings, and making sure that you're able to reach out and ask for previous chats, the memory functions. Those are all things that are important to build out. So this kind of wraps up our slides, and I'm going to show you the settings and what I did to customize both Claude and ChatGPT. But before that, I'm going to show you our upcoming AI learning labs. Our next one is going to be on prompt building, which is extremely important because this will help you layer your customization and personalization on top of a prompt, which is a task or a request that you're having the AI do. And this will help you improve your results in the response. Then we're going to go talk about projects and custom GPTs. Then in November, we're going to talk about tools and connectors and canvases. And this is all building blocks that we're doing. This isn't just throwing things together. This is building it, because without a good prompt, you're using the tools and the connectors are not going to give you the desired responses. Using projects without a good prompt you're like shooting in the dark. In December, we're going to talk about AI agents, some new technology that's been coming out, some features that are in ChatGPT, and features that are in Claude that are almost similar, but not necessarily, and they're a little bit more technical. And then in January, at the beginning of the year, we're going to talk about AI first workflows and how to transform your daily process. Then we're going to start getting into in February and March, and later on in 2026, we will be talking about how to integrate this so that you're not having to download context or information and data and upload it and give the AI the ability to just, you ask it and it goes in and pulls that information using integrations. So that's what's coming up. And we are going to go over here, and this is when I went through and I customized my my ChatGPT. So what I said is, I want to customize my ChatGPT. Can you ask me questions to help give it context for who I am and what I do? We will go through the other sections. We will go through other sections, but let's start here. So it interviewed me and said, okay, what's your role? What is your core expertise and skills, and all of these things? And I went through and I started answering those questions one by one, all the way through, and telling it what I do, what I'm looking for, my preferences. Then it then it put things together, and it said, okay, let's talk about workflow and preferences. So then it started interviewing me about decision making, research, project and task management, communication, and all of those other things, right? And I went through and I answered all of those things. I could have been more detailed in my responses, but I'm using this as an example. And actually, this worked without having to give it more detail. And it does give me desired responses, and I actually like what I worked out with. Once we've given it the responses, it wanted to go into context and knowledge boundaries, and I told it to skip this section. But what I did was I took a screenshot of the customization section that I showed you guys at the beginning of our lab today. And I said, okay, now that we have this information, I want you to help me fill this out from sections 1 and 2 and summarize it so it could fit each section in the screenshot. And so what did it do? It created a section that I just had to copy and paste exactly what it needed for us to answer those questions. I went through and it asked me if I wanted to prepare if I wanted it to prepare the advanced section. So it did. And then I realized that it got confused. So I said, okay, you know what? I've made some changes. I polished it up. I used one of the tools in ChatGPT, and I said, can you put this together? And I said, can you combine the two sections and give me actionable recommendations? So it went through and it did all of that for us. I said, don't agree with me, challenge me, ask me questions, and give me alternative perspectives, because AI can be very flattering, and I don't want it to flatter me because I don't care about being flattered. I care about actual information and solutions and results. So I told it, challenge me, ask me questions, help me reach my conclusion, be more of a strategic thought partner. And that's more for what I do. And so it rewrote the sections and it gave me a final paragraph that was optimized for ChatGPT. I then took this into Claude and I said, basically edit this and perfect it for your model. And it helped me reformat it a little bit and get it into our model for ChatGPT. That basically covers our topic today. Are there any questions or comments or things that you guys ran into? Let me pull up my Q&A here and see what we can go through. All right. I don't see any questions. So if there's nothing else, this session will be recorded. We will, for the Justice HQ members, we will post it up in Justice HQ. And for all the other attendees, you will get an email of the recording so that you can watch later as well. Don't forget to sign up to our next one, which is prompt building. This is going to help you get the right prompt so that you can get good results from your prompts, or from your requests, I should say. Thank you everyone for coming out, and we'll see you next month. As always, don't hesitate to contact us or reach out if you have any questions or need help with these things.